Hi guys, I'm Gio, and welcome to my channel. This is Shattered, Part 2. Special thanks goes to a person who wishes to remain anonymous for the idea. I'm Ripley Brandt, and my dad is the hard-hitting Bible Reverend Marcus Brandt. For dear old Dad, the Bible is the only way to live. He bases every sermon, every video, and every public speaking engagement on the Bible. There's only one problem. The Bible isn't very friendly to anyone living an alternate lifestyle, i.e., anyone who is LGBTQIA. Neither is my dad. I'm gay. My family has almost disowned me. There's a complication. Members of Dad's church are leaving because, to him, every issue is either the Bible's way or it's not. The community council that runs the church thinks that having me, Reverend Brandt's gay son, publicly endorse Reverend Brandt would somehow staunch the flow of members. Dad's not only losing members, but his popularity has gone down, and with it, so has the money. After what my family put me through for the last 7 years, after my parents' non-acceptance and intolerance, after the way my dad and his church shattered my soul, I won't do anything to help them, including giving my dad an award at a charity dinner. The community council believes that having a gay son present the award will show Dad's followers that he's a nice, loving, fatherly figure. I'm not doing it, but it hasn't stopped my parents from trying every guilt trip imaginable to make me. Mom finally mentioned that the community council is also giving a charitable donation to my rich family, $100,000, but only if I appear on stage to give the money to my father. The answer is still no. There is a bright side. Benjamin Smith, the incredible ex-boyfriend of my sister, Chelsea. We shared a kiss and dated several times. I want to make him my boyfriend, but he is a scared bi-curious. If I moved too fast, I could break the fragile bonds we've formed. Sunday night, Benjamin texted me something that really surprised me. I told my parents I was dating you, and I told them how nice you were. They were surprised that I was dating a man, but they were thrilled I had found somebody. Mom and Dad want to meet you. Thursday night is my parents' 30th anniversary, and we're having a family get-together at the Regal restaurant in Vegas at 6. I know this is last minute, and you have work and school, and I know it means meeting my entire family. They're mostly nice people, but would you be my date? I can pick you up so you don't have to take the bus, and I can drop you off later that night. Or you can sleep on my couch. We need to order cheap because payday's too far away, but I would really like you to come. Wow. Benjamin must really like me. How can I say no to that? I texted back. It depends on if I can trade schedules at work. I'll get back to you. I checked around. One of my buddies jumped at the chance to trade a Saturday shift for a Thursday shift and planned to take his wife to Reno. Monday night, I texted, "What do I wear?" "The Regal requires ties. Dress to impress my parents," Benjamin texted back. The Regal was a 5-star restaurant with a head chef trained in France. Anybody who was anybody ate at the Regal. It was located on top of one of the hotels, had a great view of the Vegas Strip, and was light years away from my paycheck. I wore a t-shirt and shorts on the ride there, and found a bathroom to transform myself from ordinary to exotic. I had borrowed some clothes from some friends, mixed and matched, and settled for a very formal black suit, my black shirt that showed no sweat, and Jeff's lavender Hermes tie with a matching chrysanthemum boutonniere. Of course, I shined my vintage leather cap and bought 2 diamond studs for my ears. For fun, I pinned a small rainbow flag on my lapel next to my boutonniere. A spritz of my Hugo Boss cologne finished the look. Even though my stomach wouldn't settle down, I was excited. Tonight would be fun. I glanced in the mirror, smiling at the guy looking back. Even after 7 years of putting up with Reverend Dad, Mom, and Chelsea, I turned out all right. Cinderfella was ready to meet Prince Charming and his parents. I packed my gear in my backpack, settled my vintage Newsboy Gatsby cap on my head, and went to find my future love. Benjamin met me in the hotel lobby wearing a rented tux with a blue tie and matching cummerbund, and my heart melted when he smiled. I'm feeling a little outclassed. You've got to teach me how to dress like that. I need to make a phone call to let my parents know we're here. I'll take your pack and clothes to the car. Why don't you wait in the bar? I surrendered my backpack to Benjamin, and he quickly exited. It gave me a chance to take in the lobby, including the sign that said, "The Regal cordially welcomes Reverend Marcus Brandt of the Lord's Brightness Evangelical Ministries." My mouth went dry, and my stomach became a lead weight. The award ceremony for my dad and Benjamin's parents' anniversary were in the same restaurant on the same day. That's too much of a coincidence. I took a seat at the bar, pulled out my phone, and typed in Benjamin's name, and my father's name, and Las Vegas. It only took a second to find 2 articles, both from the Lord's Brightness website. The first one was dated 8 months ago. The community council had hired a new employee named Benjamin Smith to write grant proposals and manage the office. It had a picture of Mom, Dad, and Chelsea, all smiles, welcoming a smiling Benjamin to the congregation. My stomach shriveled. The second article, dated a week ago, announced the engagement of Benjamin Smith to Chelsea Brandt. It showed a picture of the smiling couple with a close-up of the ring he had given her. Benjamin had told me Chelsea had dumped him. He had lied. My hands began to shake. I checked on the Lord's Brightness website about the award presentation and charity dinner. It was tonight at the Regal, a major coup for dear old Dad. Benjamin worked for my dad. He was about to marry my sister. He had seemed shy and reluctant, not because he was bi-curious or experimenting, but because he was straight. He only pretended to be interested. What I thought was shyness was me making him uncomfortable. Benjamin had lured me here. He had pretended to date me this entire time. Worse, Benjamin had pretended to like me. I slowly set my phone down. My hands and my soul were cold. I felt violated. Tonight was Dad's award ceremony, and Benjamin had brought me here just like a good little future son-in-law. Did my parents have to pay him? $10,000 and a fancy dinner seems to be the going rate. Or did Benjamin do it to show he was loyal to the family? Did I feel sick? Yup. Did I feel betrayed? Yup. Did I feel stupid? Yup. Benjamin wasn't calling his parents. He was letting my parents know that I was ready to be led to the slaughter. Get me out of here. There was no sign of Benjamin. I headed to the exit. The bus station was an hour's walk from here. And if I could get a ticket this late, I wouldn't be home much before midnight. I'd best move fast. I had almost reached the main sliding glass doors when a woman I hadn't seen for years took hold of my arm and said in a high-class rolling falsetto, "Ripley Brandt, the prodigal son of our Reverend, how I prayed the good Lord would make you see the error in your life and bring you back to the fold. You should be proud of your father and all the good he's done." It was Mrs. Livingstone, one of the leaders of the community council. I pulled my arm free. I had to get out of here. Look at that adorable hat. My grandfather had one just like it. You must tell me where you found it, Mrs. Livingstone said. There you are, Ripley, Benjamin said, casually smiling as he walked over to us. My parents can't wait to meet you. Are you ready? I needed to buy time so I could escape, or at least think about what to do. Benjamin, where's your boutonniere? And you didn't put the tuxedo buttons in right, and your tie is crooked. Excuse me, Mrs. Livingstone. It looks like my boyfriend needs some help getting dressed. A gay man's work is never done, I said. Benjamin cringed, as I suspected he would. He worked with Mrs. Livingstone. Mrs. Livingstone looked like she had stuffed a whole Thanksgiving turkey into her mouth. That should buy me a minute. I rushed into the gift shop, found a flower that would serve, and bought it. With a little tape, I made a quick boutonniere for Benjamin's lapel. I also had an idea, but I wasn't sure what to do with it yet. I need to feed the parking meter and buy some serious caffeine. Can I get a lot of quarters, $8 worth, and a pin for the flower? The attendant didn't even blink as she counted out the money. I pinned the boutonniere to Benjamin's lapel, adjusted his suit and shirt and tie, tweaked his hair a little, but my hands were cold and stiff. I faked a smile while I looked for a way out. There was nothing. Benjamin took my shoulders and walked me to the bank of elevators. How could I get out of here? The elevator arrived, and Benjamin made sure I got on, but we weren't alone. I stayed as far from Benjamin as the elevator would allow, which wasn't very far. Maybe I could make a break for the stairs. Did I say something wrong? What is it? Benjamin whispered. I pulled up the engagement picture I'd found online. How much did my family pay you to bring me here, or did you do it as a church obligation? Benjamin didn't say anything after that. Neither did I. When the elevator got to the top floor, everybody got out, except me. I pushed the button to take me back to the main floor. Ripley, come on, Benjamin said, standing between the doors so they wouldn't close. No, I'm going back to the Butte, and I never want to see you again, I said. That seemed to stun Benjamin. He looked away for a moment. Ripley, just give your father the award, Benjamin said. After the way my family shamed me, no. I think I could have loved you, Benjamin. I definitely cared for you. You gained my trust, and now you've betrayed me. You're just like the good Reverend and his church. Was any of what we shared real? Was it all an act? I'm going home, I quietly said. For once you will do what is best for your family, Mom said, walking up. My sister, Chelsea, walked next to her. Chelsea took Benjamin's hand and kissed him. It was a meeting of lips, but there was nothing sensual about it. Benjamin had betrayed me. Look at you. Are you trying to advertise that you're gay? Mom sneered, removing the gay flag pin, the lavender Hermes tie, and the boutonniere. Chelsea took my vintage cap, and Mom dumped the tie, the pin, and the flower in it. Look, Mom, Ripley can't do anything right. He looks like he's going to a funeral now, Chelsea said, one hand on her hip, the other looped in Benjamin's arm. Her mouth opened into a mean smile. Benjamin folded his arms, Chelsea hanging on, but he didn't say anything. Leave me alone, I yelled, but Mom took hold of one arm, Chelsea the other, and marched me into a coat room. I'm not giving the award, I said. How can you hate your family after all we've done for you? Mom said. She grabbed one of the spare black ties from a side rack and tied it around my neck. Dad entered the coat room, dressed in his reverend suit. Ripley, they are giving me $100,000. What will it cost for you to smile and say pretty words? He said. It's a donation, and we can use it for anything we want, like new cars or clothes or even a little remodeling. You can have $5,000 if you go along, Mom said. I remained silent. The Rainbow Palace could use the money. $5,000 would pay bills for several months and help out the social worker. It would help us help a lot of kids. but I would feel dirty taking it. No, I said. When God passed out brains, he didn't give Ripley any. Give me a kiss, honey, Chelsea said to Benjamin, and then dumped my cap, the Hermes tie, and my gay pride pin in the garbage can. Ripley, now you look straight, Mom said. Ripley, son, we can talk about this after the ceremony. You don't have to say anything. Just get me the money, Reverend Dad said. No, I said. Slap. My right cheek burned. My eyes teared, and I took a step back. Mom, you hit me? It's your damn fault you made me do that. It's about time you respected your family, Mom said. I had to get out of here, but how? My family marched me to a table in the front reserved for us and made sure I sat down. They didn't want me causing problems. The Regal was the best restaurant in Vegas. It had won all kinds of culinary awards. Black lacquered tables, white tablecloths, carefully placed golden mirrors to make the rooms seem larger. It had its own bar made of woven wood and a huge wine rack behind it. This was the kind of place I never went to. I never would again. On the makeshift stage was a dark wood easel, and on it was a glass 24-inch by 36-inch plaque that said, "In appreciation of Reverend Marcus Brant and his family and all the work they've done for the Lord's Brightness Evangelical Ministries." Underneath it said, "Charity is next to godliness." A podium and portable speakers were also on the stage, as well as several chairs. Benjamin and Chelsea went to the bar, but they seemed to be quietly arguing. Mom and Reverend Dad stayed close to me. My first boyfriend had given me the rainbow pin. The Hermes tie was Jeff's. The suit belonged to another friend. My family were using me. Benjamin had betrayed me. I had to get out of here before the ceremony started, but the restaurant was filling up fast. With all the quarters in my pocket, I had the beginnings of a plan. People took their seats, and waiters walked around taking orders. When a waiter came by, I said, "No, thank you." "You can pretend to look happy. Order something," Mom ordered. Her eyes had hardened, and her smile was fake. "I don't want anything from you," I said. "Ripley, you are so stupid. All you have to do is hand Dad the check. Mom is Ripley adopted," Chelsea said. "Ripley, you will do this for your family," Mom said. "Sure, Mom. I'm doing this so you and Dad can make your lease payments," I said. "Sanctimonious brat, do you know how hard we have to work?" Mom whispered, her hand raised a little. "Do you know how hard you are to live with?" Dad whispered. "Do you know how hard it is to be your son, Reverend?" I said. Some guy in the back of the hall set a camera on a tripod, made some adjustments, and gave a thumbs up to Mrs. Livingstone. "We're streaming live, worldwide." "Is there any way to tell if people are tuning in?" Reverend Dad said. The man checked something on his phone. "I won't have accurate numbers until we're done." The ceremony started, and everybody paid attention to the stage. Some man spoke about all the good things my family had done. Then Mrs. Livingstone spoke in praise of Dad. Then she listed his accomplishments. Dad spoke a humble sermon about service. These people spoke about a man I never knew. Did Dad have two personalities? The one he showed everybody else, and the one he saved for me? Finally, Mrs. Livingstone brought out a huge cardboard check with $100,000 written on it, and held it out so I could give it to my dad. Some ladies got up and sang a hymn. When they sat down, Mrs. Livingstone nodded at me. It was my cue. "Remember your family," Mom whispered. If I gave the money to Dad, I'd get $5,000, which I could give to the Rainbow Palace. That would help fund our little volunteer charity for months. Imagine the people we could help. But I would betray me. Forgive me, Rainbow Palace. I'll get you the money somehow. I had my plan in place. Time to escape. Smile and look happy, Chelsea smirked. I smiled and walked on stage, but I wasn't happy. Time to tell my family that no means no. God, was I nervous. The people in the audience gave me some light applause, but stopped when I took the giant cardboard check from Mrs. Livingstone. I smiled at Mrs. Livingstone. She beamed at me. I dropped the check. Mrs. Livingstone, hold out your hands. Ripley, Mom loudly whispered. What did you have in mind? Mrs. Livingstone said, continuing to give me a polite smile, but she held her hands out. My heart beat furiously fast, and a bead of sweat ran down the inside of my shirt. I took out the $8 of quarters and slowly dropped them in Mrs. Livingstone's hands. Ripley, you're supposed to give me the check, Dad whispered. I don't understand, Mrs. Livingstone said, and her smile disappeared. I spoke loud and proud. I'm giving my hateful dad, my greedy mom, my bitch of a sister, and her treacherous fiancé what they've earned, 30 pieces of silver. They're actually quarters, but the message is the same. Isn't that how many papers I had to copy scriptures on telling me how evil I am? And isn't that about how many months I had to endure your hate back in high school, Reverend Dad? It's not even close to how many times I had to endure Mom's viciousness, or Chelsea's constant hate. Isn't that the going rate for Benjamin's betrayal? And, Mrs. Livingstone, I stopped going to this church, to any church, because of how intolerant this place is. Damn my brother, Benjamin, do something, my sister squealed. Ripley, I think you should sit down, Benjamin said, climbing on stage. His expression was stone. He walked straight to me. Benjamin, was any of what you said real? Were our dates only a ploy to make me like you? Was our kiss only an act for you? Because it wasn't for me. You were engaged to Chelsea the whole time, and you lied to me, I shouted. A soft gasp came from the audience. Ripley, I'm sorry, but lying was the only way to get you here, Benjamin said. I thought we had something special. I was wrong. You are as bad as my dad, I said. I refuse to give the award. Don't listen to my son. He's bitter and spiteful. We've given him every chance to change his ways, but he won't listen, my dad said. Ripley, you do realize that we expect you to give our good Reverend the award. Maybe you don't realize how much he's done for us. He's a good, virtuous man, Mrs. Livingstone said. I hope you choke on your virtue. My mom, dad, sister, and her fiancé are horrible people. Their Bible was more important than love, and the way your church treated me? Newsflash, you're nothing more than a non-profit, so you don't have to pay taxes. I hope you go broke, I said. Mom gasped and gave a hurt smile. Ripley, we're your loving family, and the church is made up of good people. How can you say this to us? Chelsea swore and flipped me off. Ripley, you conceited jerk. Benjamin's fists clenched. Dad stared at me as I walked away. Ripley, this isn't over. Yes, it is. If I see any of my loving family again, I'm filing harassment charges. No one in this room treated me with respect or love or kindness. You looked down on me, pitied me, and shunned me. The sad part? I'm not the only one you treated that way. Look at all the people who are leaving your fine business, I yelled. Mrs. Livingstone took a step back. She had gone pale. We're a church, a sacred institution of God. Face facts, Mrs. Livingstone. Your church has to pay utilities and upkeep like the rest of us. Then you have to pay your employees, like Dad and Benjamin and probably yourself. Sounds like a small business to me, I said. Ripley, apologize. You've offended all our friends, Mom said. This church is so blinded by its righteousness that it has failed the people who needed love the most. Mom, Dad, Chelsea, Benjamin, you are no longer my family. Consider me an orphan, I said. Benjamin with the brown hair turned brassy by the sun. Benjamin with the sexy green eyes. Benjamin with the muscles in all the right places glared at me. Dad's stare was pure anger. If a person ever hated me as much as my Reverend Dad did right now, it would be my mom. Time to leave. I turned to walk away when a scream thundered in the room. "Ripley, you've ruined everything. I am ashamed of you. I hate you," Chelsea screamed. She rushed on stage, past Benjamin, past Mrs. Livingstone, and hit me on the same cheek Mom had earlier. I fell backwards into the glass plaque. The easel it rested on tipped over. Mom went ghost white. The audience went ghost quiet. The plaque slid off the easel and fell. Its corner hit the ground and chipped. The plaque rotated a little, then fell against the corner of the stage. The audience gasped. Somebody shouted, "Catch it!" The plaque broke in half, and the remaining pieces hit the floor and shattered. The easel clattered to the ground a second later. Every person in the Regal went dead quiet. "Chelsea, what have you done?" Benjamin shouted. I landed where the easel had been, and, thankfully, not in the glass. Except for my pride, I wasn't hurt. This wasn't my place. After I climbed to my feet, I faced the audience and said one last sentence. "Mom, you need to lift weights because Chelsea hits harder than you," I quietly said. Mom took a step back and stared at Mrs. Livingstone, who was staring at her. There was a room full of very angry people staring at me. I had to leave. The only person who didn't look angry was Benjamin. He didn't pay attention to anyone, but stared at the shattered glass, at the quarters in Mrs. Livingstone's hands, and then finally he looked at Chelsea. His lips pressed together, but they trembled. Something about his eyes looked haunted or horrified, like he wanted to cry. I wanted to run to him, put my arms around him, and tell him that everything would be all right. Benjamin had betrayed me. Nothing was all right. Mrs. Livingstone took a step back and stared at the quarters in her hands and on the floor. She looked at me and spoke to my dad. "Dear Lord, we have offended and hurt God's children, and we keep doing it. We have earned our millstone." Finally, somebody understood. I fled the award ceremony. I was still poor. I would miss my cap, and I owed Jeff an expensive tie. In my entire life, I had never been so alone. There had better be a bus because I needed out of this town. The part that hurt the most, I would miss Benjamin. It had been 10 days since the incident at the Regal. It was the first Saturday in November, and I was volunteering at the Rainbow Palace like I did every Saturday. Besides me, 2 other guys were here, one watching the phones and front desk, while the second played ping pong with a high school guy named Z, who needed a friend. He and his dad had trouble talking to each other, with it often turning into arguments. Z often came over just to hang out. Our social worker, Tawny, usually volunteered on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so she was in our beanbag hippie lounge, talking with a couple of girls. I was on the dreaded vacuum duty. We expected to get busy for the holidays, because this was the hardest time of the year for a lot of kids. Some people walked in the door, which is unusual because kids needing to escape often came alone. It was also unusual because it's usually teens and college kids, not people 50 or older. It was Mrs. Livingstone and my Reverend Dad. Why can't they leave me alone? Mrs. Livingstone had an odd look on her face, as if she had accidentally swallowed a cricket. She scanned the walls, checking out the rainbow flags, the bookcase filled with pamphlets, at the poster with an emergency helpline on it. Had she seen any of this before? Dad carried a box and wore casual jeans and a short-sleeve button-down green shirt. Mrs. Livingstone pointed out the poster of "Join us for Thanksgiving" I'd hung only yesterday. Dad nodded. The guy at the desk must have asked them something, because Mrs. Livingstone started talking. The last time I'd seen my dad had been a disaster. I didn't expect to see him again. After turning the vacuum off, I got out my phone and prepared to dial 911. These people wouldn't trick me again. The guy at the desk pointed in my general direction and said something. My stomach felt like it was crawling up my spine, and I took a deep breath. Might as well get this over with. I walked over to them, my dad specifically, and said, "You have 10 seconds to tell me what you're doing here before I call the police and press harassment charges." "That's not very friendly," Mrs. Livingstone said. "Neither was getting thrown into a glass plaque. 9, I said. Reverend Dad looked at Mrs. Livingstone, and she frowned. 8, I said. "Can't we have a civilized conversation?" Dad said. "We've never had a civilized conversation. You always shamed me and told me that I'm a bad person. Start talking." 7, I said. "Can we talk somewhere private?" Dad said. "No, I want witnesses." 6, I said. "I want you to come over for Thanksgiving and spend it with your family and some of our friends," Dad said. "No, we're making Thanksgiving dinner for some of the kids who don't have one. I'm calling the cops in 5, I said. "We were under a lot of stress that night, and we regret what happened," Dad said. "I regret it too. My loving family stole things from me, humiliated me, hit me, and betrayed me." 4, I said. "Ripley, take a deep breath because we need to talk," Mrs. Livingstone said. "Mrs. Livingstone, I don't trust you. I don't trust your church. I don't trust my family, and I don't trust my dad." 3, I said. "We are selling the house and moving to a condo. We already have an offer. Assuming it holds, they want to move in before Christmas and have it ready for the holidays. This will be our last Thanksgiving in the old house, and we want to make it incredible. Your mom has arranged the caterers and decorators, and we're inviting over 50 people. We want you to come," Dad said. "That's nice, Dad. I don't have happy memories of that place, or my family. I'll pass." 2, I said. "Chelsea's pregnant, nearly 8 weeks, Dad said. "Tell Benjamin and Chelsea I'm happy for them." "Time's up. I want you gone because I'm calling the police," I said. "It's not Benjamin's child. Chelsea finally told us the truth. As much as she tried, Benjamin never slept with her. He's never had sex with anyone. He said he made a promise to his parents, and he's kept it," Dad said. Wow. Benjamin was telling me the truth. "Yes, we promised Benjamin money to date you and get you to the Regal for the ceremony. I'm ashamed we did that," Dad said. "When we tried to pay him, he handed me one of your quarters and told me to go to hell. I'm donating the money to the Rainbow Palace." Dad tried to hand me a check that had a 5 with 3 zeros on it. I didn't take it. "Leave," I said. "Ripley, I didn't realize how much hate I was causing, not just from you or the LGBTQ community, but a lot more people. I'm sorry," Dad said. "Me too, Dad, but this doesn't make up for 7 years of living with you and Mom. Take your money and leave. See that kid over there? His name's Z. Lopez. His dad's a cop. I'm calling him right now," I said. "Hold on a minute, Ripley. Before you call the cops, let's talk business," Mrs. Livingstone said. "The video was streamed live. Lots of people saw it. The Lord's brightness and Reverend Brent is not seen in a positive light. In fact, it's negative. We kept all the pieces of the plaque and put them in a box to remind us of our pride and the people we hurt because of it. We are making changes. One such, we are donating $1,000 a month to help support the Rainbow Palace. The kids get enough hate from their parents. Just look at mine," I said. "Ripley, I am sorry for what I put you through, and I'm trying to change," Dad said. Mrs. Livingstone smiled and glanced at Dad. "One of the conditions for your father to remain Reverend of the Lord's brightness is that he change his message to one of love. We are requiring him and your mother to volunteer at one of the LGBTQ shelters in Vegas. It's time to repair shattered lives, and there are a lot. Reverend and Mrs. Brent are to begin by repairing their ties with the community council, with the congregation, with their relationship with Benjamin, with their relationship with you, and the relationship between you and Benjamin. Me and Benjamin? There was no relationship. It was all an act, I said. There was something heartbreaking about the look in Mrs. Livingstone's eyes. You're wrong. Benjamin spent hours going through the trash, trying to find your tie, hat, and pin. Some kind of a greasy red sauce had spilled on them. Chelsea and Mom stole them from me and dumped them in the garbage, I said. We had your items professionally cleaned at the church's expense, which we later deducted from our reverend's paycheck, Mrs. Livingstone said. Dad opened the box, and there was my tie, my cap, my pin, my backpack, and the clothes I had left with Benjamin. I grabbed my cap and put it on. Mrs. Livingstone took my hand and made sure I looked at her. I'm worried about Benjamin. I don't think he's eaten since that night, and I don't think he slept very well. He's depressed and never smiles and doesn't take care of himself. He's stopped coming to work. Is there a chance you could talk to him? I don't know. What he and my family did hurt, I said. We're sorry for that. Somewhere we lost sight of what the real message was, Dad said. We're trying to fix that. Join us for Thanksgiving. I already have plans, Dad, I said, and pointed at the sign. Thanksgiving can wait. We have a serious issue right now. The Rainbow Palace is for people who are confused and hurting, and they need someone to talk to who would understand their issues, Mrs. Livingstone said. We need your help with Benjamin right now. He's outside. You'll see what I mean. She gave me a tiny, sad smile. Between you and me, our church has broken a lot of people. Maybe you can teach us how to heal someone. Is there a drink machine around here? I've got a lot of quarters for drinks. I'm not leaving you alone in here, I said. Don't worry about us causing problems. We're also here to learn how to make our church a better place, Mrs. Livingstone said. I went outside. I should have been nervous, maybe a little angry, but some part of me was excited. It changed to sadness when I saw Benjamin. Benjamin leaned against the shady side of the building, brown hair made brassy by the sun, but it was unkempt. His sexy green eyes were deep and hollow and filled with self-loathing. He hadn't shaved since that night 10 days ago, and his clothes were dirty and wrinkled. The hardness of his jaw made me think he hadn't smiled in far too long. I don't know what all the signs of depression were, but I suspect Benjamin had most of them. I had seen this in too many of the kids who came here. They had no hope. Benjamin was just like them, and had given up on himself. He looked up as I approached, and it seemed that terror flashed through his bloodshot eyes. Benjamin needed somebody to pull him back together. Mrs. Livingstone was right. This was what the Rainbow Palace was here for. This is what we did. This is what I did. I walked up to Benjamin and held him a second. Let's talk. Benjamin smelled of sweat and beer. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair greasy. I'm sorry, Benjamin mumbled. For a moment, our eyes connected, and his naked pain reddened his face before he looked away. Shush. It's my turn to talk, I said. Benjamin, I think you're special. Somehow my family screwed things up. Right now, you're drowning in pain. Let me help you heal. We'll start with something simple. You're beautiful, and I accept you as you are. You never have to pretend to be something you aren't around me, because I'm your friend. I forgive you, I respect you, and I love you. You're forgiving me? I'm not worth it, Benjamin said, as the tears began to flow, and he turned away from me. You are worth it, especially to me, I said, softly. Don't you get it? I'm gay, and I was too afraid to tell anybody, Benjamin said. Benjamin's pain went deep, scary deep. He hated himself, and I suspect it had been going on a long time. This man needed my help. Somehow, I had to help him heal. because I was the only person who understood. Benjamin was just like me, raised in a family that demanded their beliefs come first, especially before loving those that are different. I stepped up to Benjamin, wrapped my arms about him, and held him close. "It's going to be okay," I whispered. Benjamin was a terrified closet gay, forced into hiding by his religion. "I was trying to prove to everybody I was a good person, to prove that I wasn't gay," he said. I didn't let go, but hugged him. "You are a beautiful person. I forgive you." "How can you be so nice? Being with you felt wrong and right at the same time," Benjamin shouted. "Don't you understand? I can never be me." "With me you can," I said. "I thought working for the Reverend and trying to be normal," Benjamin whispered, and wiped the tear running down his cheek, but he couldn't finish the sentence. When he spoke, I could barely hear him. "I fell in love with you, and look what I did. I'm sorry." Benjamin's chest heaved with silent sobs. I didn't let him go. "I think you are amazing, and to prove it, I'm taking you home to get cleaned up, and then it's out for dinner and dancing," I said. "Why? You should hate me," Benjamin said. "It's time you learn to love yourself, like I love you," I whispered into his ear. Benjamin held me. For a moment, we didn't move, but something wet ran down his cheek, and he sobbed. I whispered, "Come inside, and let's talk. When life gets hard, you need a friend. This is what we do at the Rainbow Palace. That, and play ping pong." "I didn't drive, so I have to leave soon," Benjamin said. I couldn't believe what I was about to suggest, but I said it anyway. "I'm not letting you be alone. Stay with me tonight. I'll take the bed or the couch, and I'll make blueberry pancakes tomorrow morning." I gently kissed him. Benjamin took a deep, ragged breath, and his kiss tasted of tears and seemed so lonely. Benjamin and I said our farewells to the others and walked to my apartment. We didn't go dancing. We ordered Chinese takeout while I washed our clothes, and Benjamin and I talked until way too early in the morning. We were sitting on the couch, talking and holding hands, when we kissed. Benjamin and I and about 15 others had Thanksgiving at the palace, and a ping pong tournament. Mid-afternoon, my parents arrived, bearing a dozen pies. "Is it too late to get to know our son?" Mom said. Even though I had forgiven Benjamin, it took him months before he forgave himself, and he finally learned that it was okay to be himself, to love himself, that he didn't have to pretend to be someone he wasn't, that he was beautiful just as he was. It took a while, but Benjamin started smiling again. Benjamin and I had our ceremony at the Rainbow Palace, and we invited the many friends we had made. Jeff was our best man of honor. Benjamin's dad walked Benjamin down the aisle. Mom cried, and Dad said, "I now pronounce you husband and husband." As I stared at Benjamin's sexy green eyes, he smiled, and his eyes overflowed. I kissed him. We were husband and husband forever. The end. Thank you for listening, everybody. I appreciate it. Peace.